Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series for the final points-paying event this season, the BeerStreetJournal.com season finale. It is race number 25, and all is to play for here tonight. As what happens in Vegas, well, it stays in Vegas, and I'll tell you what, a lot can happen here tonight. We've been doing the math here in the 3-wide TV booth. We'll get to that here in a moment, but want to introduce Andre Grambush alongside. And Andre, what a great racetrack to have a season finale.
Yeah, Vegas is surprisingly popular here on the iRacing service. I know it's one of my favorite tracks. You had mentioned before the broadcast that you really like this track, and I've always noticed that just in the iRacing scheduled public races, there's always a big turnout for Vegas, especially in the trucks and the Xfinity car. People love it, and there's a reason they love it. It's a track that I think it's easy to drive, but hard to master. So anybody can go out here and make a lap at this track, but it takes a really good driver to make a fast lap, and I think that's a great balance. Low barrier to entry, but a high skill ceiling. Very fun circuit.
Yeah, and it has some nuances as well that you have to deal with on board here with currently the fastest driver in Nevada. That is the number 30 of Julian Tesoro, currently atop the board. Dominic, his brother there, sitting in second, just 300ths of a second back. And you're starting to get a feel here, Andre, riding on board with the number 30. He's caught up to a couple of other trucks as he splits them up the middle. That tire wear could be important tonight.
Oh, yeah. Anytime you go to a mile and a half with this current tire model we have, you're going to be looking at a decent amount of tire wear. But Vegas especially, you can see these trucks are getting thrown all over the place. It's bumpy, it's rough, it's just grating on these tires. And it's going to be a pretty big factor. And you saw that right there with the 30 splitting the middle and being able to pull away. If you're able to conserve at this track, then you're going to be doing well. But I will say 1 and 2, you can run the top. Now, it's going to be a little bit more killer on the tires, but you get a lot of speed if you can hook the top, especially later in the run once the tires are already worn. So we're going to see a lot of multi-group racing. It's going to be a good time. The times in practice right now are showing that it's going to be a pretty competitive race, Peter. I mean, look at this, 30.94 top of the board, 30.97 second. Third place is a 30.98, and then just a 31.02. So the first 4 separated by thousandths of a second. It is pretty crazy how close they all are. And I don't know. It's, I guess, kind of the trend for these guys. You see this a lot where everybody's just kind of on the same page when it comes to pace. And I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. Let's set the point situation for everyone at home as we enter into tonight's final race of the season. You're looking at the second place driver in points. That is Philip Scott, the World Ninja League Ford F-150. Currently sitting 16th on the speed charts here in practice. Quite a ways down the board there on the left-hand side of your screen. However, he's quite a ways behind in the points tally as well. Needs to make up about, I think the number is 62 points entering into tonight's event. And we were doing the math before the start of the show. That means that Nate Mowrer, the number 971 machine, who's currently sitting on pit road, all Nate has to do here tonight is walk away with the top 10. The maximum amount of points you can get in one of these races is 192 points. That's 180 points for the win, 10 points for leading a lap, plus also leading the most laps. It's kind of 5 points each. And then 2 bonus points for having a incident-free race, I should say. So if you get an incident-free race, you lead the most laps, you win the race, you get 192 points. Well, coming into tonight, with that big lead that Nate Mowrer has, that number 971, that's 62 points. He's going to have to get more than 130 points here tonight. That would guarantee his championship. And looking at the points tally, I believe the 10th place driver walks away here with about 134 points. So get a top 10, Andre, and the 971's champion.
Yeah, I have to agree. Sorry, I was a little distracted. Yeah, it's an interesting point scenario. I think the 99 truck is going to have a perfect night, and he's going to have to hope that, well, the other guy doesn't. That's really what it boils down to. But no matter what, even if the 99 does walk away from this season P2 in points, which is kind of what it's looking to be likely, you can't complain about that. I mean, he has had such a phenomenal season. I would argue one of the most consistent trucks that has really been on the track week in and week out. You always see him up front, always battling for a top 5 or maybe even a podium. Grabbed a couple wins on the season. He might not walk away the champion. We'll have to wait and see. But either way, a great season. And there's a lot of drivers in the field that could say the same. These guys have put on one great season. And there just hasn't been a whole lot of drama, not a lot of controversy, not a lot of crazy things going on. It's been a nice, clean year, and I think that's what these guys wanted.
Yeah, definitely. These drivers going to want to close out the season on a high note. Do want to give a big shout out to this driver right here, the number 28 of Adam Dama, who we saw him feature a lot early in the season when he was racing from Korea. Well, the good news is Adam is back stateside, and Adam out there was fastest of all momentarily. He's going to pick up a little bit here on lap number 2, currently 5th out of the 8 drivers to put in a qualifying lap. But great to see Adam Dama back for the season finale. Hopefully he puts on a good run here tonight. But it is Adam Newton, who has been kind of on a tear here lately, at least on qualifying pace. Currently fastest of all, 31.26. Doug Neal in the Simbox machine going to slot into second. Good to see Doug up there. But look at that. All of a sudden, the driver who's won the most races this season, Jason Gracias, in the MaxGrafix.co Toyota Tundra, he's put the machine atop the board. And look at that, Philip Scott, second place in points, also second place up on the board here tonight as he shuts it down after his qualifying lap. Just 2 minutes and 14 seconds left. And I'm just wondering, where's Nate Mowrer out there on the road? Oh, there he is. He's just now heading off of turn number 2. Andre, let's see if we can go on board here with our current points leader for a lap around this joint.
Yeah, let's see what it takes. Now, you're going to see him take the high line through 3 and 4. Of course, just trying to wind up as much speed as he can. He may even run the high line for his entire first timed lap. Some drivers will choose to do that, sort of like they're racing a plate track, because on fresh tires, it kind of races like that. You can hold it wide open for the first, I would say, 10 or so laps. And yeah, there he goes, right up against the wall, running that high line, winding the truck up, getting the revs up, trying to make sure he's carrying as much momentum as possible. And then once he gets to this second lap, you're going to see him duck down to the bottom, and he's going to try to hug that white line more than likely, unless he's just found some speed on the high line. But you can see just from this onboard how rough the track is. The truck really bouncing around a lot more than we've seen at some of the other 1.5 miles we've been to. But there he goes. He crosses the line for a second timed lap. His first lap is going to be a 32:07. But now he's down on the white line. He's a little bit lower. It's going to be a faster lap, and he's going to have to improve quite a bit. Obviously, 17 out of 17 isn't exactly what he's looking for, but working his way down the back straightaway. I think they call it, what is it, the Nellis straightaway, down to the white line again. Where is our current points leader going to fall through the trioval? He's probably going to cut this white line down right up against the grass, and it's going to be third on the board for Nate Mowrer with a 31.22, tying Jason Gracias' time and just beating out Mike Tellier by 1/100th of a second. What a time. Oh, issues with the 69 truck.
Yeah, Dominic Tesoro up into the wall. He's going to be starting, well, he was right alongside his brother there at the top of the practice charts. Well, it's going to be starting just behind his brother there, as they will be, looks like they'll start to 10th and 11th right now. But look at that left-hand side of your screen from Justin White, who just put in a faster lap than Jason Gracias, all the way back to Jimbo Casterline. We have less than 0.4 of a second separate our field here tonight. And I'll tell you what, that is going to be absolutely awesome when we get to our race, as the field will be mighty competitive for the season finale here tonight. Let's bring up our starting lineup for the final points paying event this year. Of course, we do have the All-Star event next week, but points on the line here tonight. They're all going to be out here having fun next week. Justin White, top of the board, 31.212. Jason Gracias just about 100th of a second slower, rolling off to his outside. All eyes on Nate Mowrer. He's got a good spot for the start of the race here tonight. Going to be starting off in third. Mike Floppy Tellier, winner from earlier this season at the Bristol Motor Speedway, will be starting off in fourth. Philip Scott, the number 99 World Ninja League machine, who has a couple of wins to his credit this season. He'll be rolling off from fifth, second place in points. With those 3 wins, even if we have a tie in points, he would not become champion because Nate Mowrer has 5 wins to his name here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. Adam Newton in the number 29 will be starting off in 6th. John Flamion in 7th. Doug Neal will be rounding out row number 4 in his Simbox Motorsports machine. Big shout out to Simbox, one of our series sponsors here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. David Buell will be rounding out our top 9 with Julian Tesoro on the outside of row number 5 there, Andre.
Looking a little bit further back from them, Dominic Tesoro is going to be P11 after some issues on his second lap. Travis White is going to be 12th place in that 23 machine. Tom Lester in the 48 is going to be 13th. Adam Dama is going to be P14, about midfield. Not bad at all. Zach Howell is going to be 15th. Patrick Morrison 16th. Jimbo Casterline is going to be P17, and Jason Shue is going to get a bump up because Scott Tompkins is the race control, so he'll be up alongside Jimbo Casterline. And rounding out the rest of the field, it is Vinny Valvano in that 64 for our 19-car field. So pretty big pack tonight we got for this track.
Yeah, and of course, like we mentioned, this is one of the more enjoyable racetracks to be on here in the iRacing.com motorsport simulation. At least in my opinion, it is with these oval machines. Let's see, though, if we can get really quick. I'm just going to see if we can jump here and get a quick word. Let's see if we can get a quick word with second place in points, Philip Scott. Just trying to see where he is in here. There he is. Let's see if we get a quick word. Philip Scott, Peter Short, 3YTV booth. Got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, what do you think it's going to take to get the job done here tonight?
I think my math might be wrong, but I think Nate's gonna have to wreck out, and I'm gonna have to win. It's a long shot. Regardless, I'm really proud of how this season's gone, and yeah, hopefully I can get another one today.
Well, all he has to do is get a top 10, but if he finishes outside the top 10, it is all to play for. Best of luck here, Philip.
Yep, thank you.
All right, we'll let him get back to it, but Andre, the field coming out of turn number 4. Pace truck going to head down pit road here.
And it is going to make that very sharp turn because, again, iRacing seems to struggle with the gradual turn radius for the pace truck. But there he goes, making that neck-breaking turn. And the number 2 leading the field to this green flag. The first lap of the final race of the season, final points-paying race. Look at that, Jason Gracias on the outside getting a great start with help of that 97. He's going to push him out front, just about clear that number 2, and he is clear. He's going to dive down, trying to protect both lanes now, as Nate Mowrer, current points leader, sits there third on the bottom row, 4th overall. As they race back down the straightaway here, they're going to stay 2x2 pretty much all the way back here, Peter. Not really single filing out, not sorting things out too quickly. And we're going to see a lot of this. This is a track where you can run multi-groups. There's really not a hurry to get single file. There's not much of a rush to get down low. Jason Gracias is going to lead the first lap of the race with a solid start there. Mike Tellier still trying to work over this number 2 up on the high side. Nate Mowrer just watching these guys battle.
Yeah, 200 miles, 134 laps in the story here. Gracias leading the first of them. Looks like Justin White sliding back to third. It was a really good start, like you mentioned there, for the number 1 as he leapfrogged Justin before. Oh, contact up on the field! Jason Gracias going through the grass, and he's able to save it. Got a little bit of a tag from the number 97 to Mike Floppy Tellier. The field doing a great job. That's a single car accident down into the grass. That will not bring out the caution flag, but let's see if we can see what happened there to not bring out the first caution, but at least be the first accident. You see Tellier there just giving him a little bit of a tag, and great job there. Great car control.
Yeah, it's not easy to catch these cars once you hit that grass. Kind of feels like you're on ice, but he was able to get that thing corrected. We're going to go on board with the number 1. You can see that steering input real smooth, didn't panic on it, didn't overcorrect, and I think that's ultimately what saved him. I think if he cranked on that wheel a little bit too hard, he might have spun back up into traffic, which would have been disastrous. But yeah, I definitely don't think that was intentional by any means. I think Mike Tellier might have just expected him to kind of move a little bit further up the track. He was trying to follow him, walk right on the bumper, and then when the one car kind of stayed down low, they came together. And sometimes at high speeds like that, it doesn't take much, Peter. I mean, one little nudge in the wrong direction, and you might find yourself spinning out. But look at this new leader, current points leader, Nate Mowrer in the 971, takes the point from Justin White. But Justin's not giving it up easy. He's going to be up here trying to side draft the race leader, get this position back. He's got Adam Newton right behind him with a good push. That actually got him nose to nose with the leader down the straightaway. 3 wide, a little bit further back. Look at that action. I believe that is the Tesoros going 3 wide for a moment. Still side by side, and right now, Peter, it looks to me like both lines are pretty even.
Yeah, that outside line doing a pretty good job. I thought when Nate was going to be pushed up there that he'd start to fall back a little bit, but more importantly, Nate Mowrer led that lap a couple of laps ago, and Andre, that is worth 5 bonus points here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series here in tonight's SpearStreetJournal.com season finale. So, with that in mind, that means he now, I think, can finish as low as the 12th position and still be crowned champion. So that is big news for Nate Mowrer. Just getting those few extra bonus points, that they add up, they tally up across the season, and here in the chase, every little bit matters. So Nate Mowrer, things looking good so far for him. Justin White, our pole sitter, now finally able to work his way out front and lead a couple of laps. Look at the number 29, Adam Newton there, slotting in second truck on the inside line. But yeah, great side-by-side action kind of all throughout this field. Let's kind of highlight the Tesoros because, Andre, they were fastest in practice, did not get a good qualifying time, but they have worked their way up a little bit. They started 10th and 11th, now 6th and 7th on the field. But for right now, this front pack is really a pack. Currently, your top, it's like your top 16 kind of all together as a pack. Then you got a couple of seconds back to Tellier, who's with Jason Shue, and then you got about a 5-second gap to Jason Gracias, who has won, I believe, 5 or 6 times this season. Six wins. It's 5 wins for Mowrer, 6 wins for Gracias. So Gracias kind of has an uphill battle if he wants to make it 7 wins. But a lot of action here at the front of the field. We've already seen what a small little mistake can do.
Yeah, one little mistake could spell disaster. We've not got a caution yet, so Gracias still 8 seconds back and dropping. He doesn't have the draft, which is pretty important at this track, especially on fresh tires, so he's going to continue to fall back a little ways. But, going back to the Tesoros, I just want to say they have really impressed me all season long, not just because of their good finishes, but every time we talk to them, Peter, every time we have them up in the booth, I always say, how do you feel about this track? And it's like, oh yeah, I've never turned a lap here. I bought the track 5 minutes before the race, and I won the race, or I finished third, or I finished second. It's like, man, I don't know how you can show up to a track with no prior knowledge, no experience, and do as well as they do week in and week out. They seem to be fairly new to the oval side of things, but despite that, they come to these tracks that they don't know, and they race them as if they'd been coming here for years, like as if they knew the ins and outs of the track just completely. And I've always said one of the most important things in motorsports for a driver is adaptation. Being able to adapt, being able to kind of feel things out on the fly and just figure them out really quickly. If you can do that, you're going to be a good driver. And the Tesoros both seem to have that ability. This is another track. We talked to them last week, and they said, yeah, no, we've never been to Vegas, but we'll show up next week and we'll have a good time. And here they are, 5th and 7th, and still marching forward through the field. So it's a great year for them, and really just crazy how good they can be not knowing the track.
Yeah, you look at this going, okay, this is their first season as race leader Nate Mowrer. I think he just led at the line that last time, side by side with Justin White. But we talk about them week in and week out, like you mentioned. And you think about how good they've been this season. Well, next year, we're going to go to most of the same tracks. So they can probably take a little bit of the knowledge they've gained this season in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series and apply it to next season as well. And I think they're just going to be more of a force to be reckoned with here on the oval side next week. So next month, next week, month, year, whatever, next season.
Time is an illusion.
Time is an illusion. That's right. Someone was telling me tomorrow's my birthday, and I went, "Oh yeah, it is, isn't it? Wow." But it really is impressive to see those Tesoros slowly march their way to the front. I think what they can learn is maybe a little bit more patience on some of these tracks to save tire, because we've seen them be really fast out of the gate. And I think from where we kind of saw them at the beginning of the season to where they are now, I think they are starting to learn tire conservation and kind of put that asset in their racing repertoire. So we'll see if they're able to carry that over to next year and how they are able to continue to grow on the oval side of things. But Nate Mowrer got himself out front in the 971. He is our race leader, our points leader and race leader for right now. The number 77 of Doug Neal is currently riding in second, but Andre so far, maybe not the cleanest start to the race with that hiccup to Jason Gracias, but green flag could be a heck of a lot worse here on 3 Wide TV. I've seen people ball him up, in the opening 15 laps before. But Gracias, I'm actually watching him. He was about 9 seconds off the lead. He's chopped that down to about 7.5 seconds off the lead. So he is slowly catching this group, but he is still quite a ways back as we complete lap number 16 of the 134 scheduled tonight.
I'm glad you pointed that out. That was my next thing. Jason Gracias has reeled these guys in, and I think a lot of that comes from the fact that on fresh tires, the draft is going to give you a faster lap. If you are in a pack, it's sort of like being at Daytona where, a little bit of a squabble there. Everybody gathers it up, number 30 down to the apron, back up on the track. But as I said, on fresh tires, it is a little bit like a plate track where the draft and being in a pack gives you faster laps. But now we're 17 laps in. Our tires are starting to get a little bit more worn, and you can't necessarily use all that momentum in the corner. You have to start lifting if the draft carries you in just a little bit too much. You can see the nudge right there, just a gentle tap. Everybody kept it together. The 99 skirting through there. But yeah, as these leaders in the draft have to start backing out of the corner and really watching their throttle inputs, Jason Gracias back there all on his own, he's not entering the corner as fast. He can carry more momentum because he's entering a little bit slower, and that's actually helping him now. And he's down to 7 seconds. I mean, just in the time we've been talking about it, he's cut another half a second. So very good run so far at an attempt at a recovery here. He's going to need a little bit more. He's going to need maybe some good pit strategy and maybe a caution to get him all punched up. But even so, he is catching this pack, and things aren't quite over for the number one.
Yeah, things not quite over, like you said. I mean, we have seen Jason Gracias win races by 7 seconds, so just because he's 7 seconds behind does not mean that he will be 7 seconds behind at the checkered flag here tonight. Just checking out the 3 Wide TV chat. Got some familiar faces in the chat here tonight. We got Ryder Lee Angle, Darian Caitlin saying, "Let's go, Dama." Darian, I believe it was going to be your wedding. Is your wedding soon? I don't know. Let us know in the chat if you have been wed. Congratulations. But I think you had that coming up. We got Christy Tesoro saying next year the Tesoros are going to be kicking some ass. And Stella in the chat as well. So how's it going, folks, here tonight? Thank you for joining us here on 3 Wide TV for the championship night, brought to you by BeerStreetJournal.com. And if you have not checked out BeerStreetJournal.com all season long, I keep saying this, but it's a really cool place to check out craft beer news. If you've got a craft beer enthusiast in your life, or you are one, that is a place to point them to find out all about the craft beer news, especially across the East Coast of the United States. So really, really cool website. I always find something fun there to read about, as they've been a steadfast supporter of us here in the National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. As the number 971, Nate Mowrer, continuing to click away as your race leader, 2/10 over Doug Neal. And Andre there just now finally starting to get single file through a majority of the pack, a little bit of side-by-side back there with Adam Dama and Vincent Valvano, but starting to see more single file, but I still think we're going to see a lot of racing action, a lot of side-by-side, because, we'll kind of get some drivers might have saved their tires a little bit, other drivers might have used up their tires, so I think this track will continue to stay racy here, and really until we get to that first green flag pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, it only took them until lap 23. It has been a lot of side-by-side racing. Generally, we see these guys get single file at a 1.5-mile track. I would say within the first 10 laps. These guys were not sparing an inch on this track. They were side-by-side pretty much up until lap 22. And you got to think we're probably getting somewhat close to some green flag stops. I know that this, I believe this truck league does have reduced fuel in the tank, so it's just a little bit shorter on the distance they can go, so we're getting ever closer to that. But I'm looking at Philip Scott in 6th place here, 2nd place in points. He's kind of been all over the board, Peter. He was as far up as 3rd at one point. We've seen him stick his nose into frame when they were battling for the lead. Dropped all the way back to 7th at one point. Now he's P6. Seems like his pace is just a little bit inconsistent, and I'm not sure if that's down to dirty air or what's going on. I know dirty air is going to be pretty big here, especially on worn tires. But he's kind of been up and down the board, which is not what he's looking for.
Ooh, John Flamian, the number 22. As you say that, in the outside wall, that's not what he is looking for either. So, number 22 now a very flat right-hand side. This racetrack with its speed is a very aero-dependent racetrack. So, Flamian's going to have to nurse that Clorox machine until he can come down onto pit road, and they can they can clean that car up. Maybe not with Clorox, but they'll be able to clean that number 22 up, get some damage repaired as this race continues to go on. We have a Patrick Morrison fan in the chat, the number 94 Coast Guard machine right there on your screen. Blake Simpson saying, let's go number 94. Great looking scheme right there. I'm a Kevin Harvick fan, so whenever I see that Coast Guard scheme, I go back to that 2006 NASCAR Busch Series season when Kevin won over 10 races that year in that very paint scheme that you see right there. So definitely a paint scheme that has a little bit of a soft spot in my heart, looking back all those years. I wouldn't necessarily say the Busch Series was super competitive then, but it was what it was. He won a lot of races, kept me happy, as he's now under fire from the number 37 here, Zach Howell. Nothing runs like a deer, as the John Deere number 37 machine looking to make a pass on the inside. Morrison going up, hitting those bumps. We actually saw him hit those bumps quite hard there, Andre, and it seemed like it might have cost him a little bit of momentum as we got one car in the wall further back. That is Mike Floppy Tellier, similar to what just happened to Flamian just a little while ago, as Tellier now pulling to the bottom side of the racetrack.
Yeah, I think he's going to try and get this thing down pit road. Looks like some pretty substantial damage to the right side. It's been an eventful start to the race, to say the least, for the 97. Getting into Jason Gracias earlier and now finding his way to that outside wall. I'm not sure if he's coming down pit road out of some sort of necessity. I mean, sometimes you do get that black flag for damage and the car doesn't look all that bad. But looking at that right side, Peter, that thing's pretty well pancaked.
Yeah, that thing is pretty well pancaked, so we'll see whether Tellier can get that damage beat out of the number 97 Hello Kitty Toyota. I believe our lone Canadian in the field, currently on pit road in his pit stall. Meanwhile, up at the front of the field, new second place driver, that is Dominic Tesoro, about a half second now behind Nate Mowrer, but starting to make some inroads on your race leader, Adam Newton. And Doug Neal now side by side for second. Our pole sitter sitting just behind that battle there in fifth. Then you have Philip Scott, the 52 of David Buell, having a good run so far inside the top 10. Then Julian Tesoro, Tom Lester, and Zach Howell rounding out the top 10 as it stands right now. Just outside, we got Patrick Morrison, Travis White, Vincent Valvano, Adam Dama in his return to the series. But look who's made some passes out there for position. That's Jason Gracias, was as low as 19th a little while ago. Well, he's climbed his way up into the top 15 now. and just under 7 seconds. He's not catching that front pack as quick as he was, Andre, but he's got some dirty air on the nose now to contend with, so that is definitely going to thwart Jason Gracias' slicing and dicing through the field. But the good news for Jason is he's got plenty of laps left to catch up as we close in on 100 laps to go. It's almost 50 miles down, almost 150 to go here in Championship Night, brought to you by BeerStreetJournal.com.
Yeah, Jason Gracias has a lot of time left, and I think the biggest thing is that he's there, right? He finally reached the pack. He's kind of working his way through them slowly but surely, and he can see the other cars in his windshield. That's going to be a good motivating factor. And the other thing, too, is you got to think he's on worn tires. These other guys, they've been running a pretty steady pace, but Jason Gracias has been driving the wheels off that thing trying to catch these guys. So once they pit and he gets fresh tires, I would not be surprised to see him gain a lot of positions while those tires are fresh. So we'll keep an eye on him, see what he does. He's making another move right here. Jason Gracias trying to make the pass on Adam Dama. Adam rocking that high line right up against the wall, but he's going to bring it down now that Gracias has gotten around. I would say that was Dama giving him some room. I think he knew, hey, you're faster, I'm going to let you go. But a few more cars to contend with here for Jason Gracias, just one in a long line. Here's a battle. We got Adam Newton and Tesoro battling for second place. You talked about Tesoro brothers maybe learning a little bit more about tire conservation throughout the season, Peter, and well, I think you're right. I think they are starting to figure it out because that number 69 truck all the way up to P2 this late in the run, the tires are screaming at them. I mean, I run this track in the trucks quite a bit, and usually by the time I get to lap 25, lap 30, my tires are donezo, and he's out here making up time. So pit road getting busy. Adam Newton coming down pit road. He's leading the way. I believe that is going to be a handful of trucks behind him. I think that's the 77, perhaps, pulling into his pit stall there. Jason Gracias as well. He's wasting no time. I don't think that's a surprise, Peter, with his burn up as those tires got to be. I kind of figured he'd be one of the early adopters here. The 37 truck, Hal getting that car service, and here comes the rest. As we got a couple lockups there. Nate Mowrer and Tesoro both sliding into pit road. Hopefully they didn't get any penalties there, but yeah, this is not the race you want to be making those mistakes.
Well, for Nate Mowrer, you're coming in as the race leader. You're coming in as the points leader. The one thing you don't want to do is speed on pit road. You want to give maybe a little bit of a buffer. Yes, you want to get in there hot, but you want to give maybe a little bit of a buffer so you don't speed. You don't make a mistake, because if you make a mistake, it could be very costly, not only for the race, but also the championship, because right now, Philip Scott has stayed out. He will get 5 bonus points for leading a lap in doing so. And Philip maybe trying to push the envelope maybe a little bit further with the number 99 F-150 here. Curious to know when he's going to come down pit road. Tom Lester, Vincent Valvano down pit road, Adam Dama, Jason Chu. But right now, not seeing anyone with any significant penalties. Looks like Jimbo Casterline may have picked up a pit road speeding penalty. However, in the Stay Tuned Sports podcast machine, he is there. He is currently sitting in 18th in the number 18 machine, calling his own number right now. 2 laps down with that penalty that he had to serve. So tough break for Jimbo, but at least so far everyone else in and out of their pit box just about when you'd expect them to. Here comes Justin White, tonight's pole sitter on pit road. So that will basically cycle us on through as Philip Scott and David Buell both on pit road. So that should cycle through to the 971 coming out of turn number 4 right now. We'll pick up that race lead just about right now as he gets his way on by Philip Scott. So back to the point for Nate Mowrer. Let's see how everything cycles on through here, Andre.
Yeah, and this is not a small lead that he built up through that sequence. 1.6 seconds back to Tesoro, who was actually under a second behind him. I believe it was 0.7 of a second when they came in. So a great pit stop for the 971 was able to get him a little bit of a buffer here, a little bit of an advantage. 69's got some work to do. Adam Newton has even more work to do, 2.3 seconds back. Doug Neal, 2.4, so he's going to be battling for that 3rd position. But we got a gaggle of cars here. Looks like the number 37 truck right behind the number 30 of Tesoro, as well as Jason Gracias, all the way back up to 7th, Peter. So he's gone from 19th all the way back up to 7th. Still got some fresh tires on that thing. We'll see if he can make up any more time. But I'll tell you what, that 30 is not making it easy on him. He is riding that bumper through the corner. And with these trucks, you can definitely take the air off the spoiler. If you get right up behind somebody, that will unsettle their truck. The next-gen stock car, cup car, in the iRacing service, you can't really do that as much anymore. You don't really take the air off the spoiler like you used to be able to. But here in the trucks, that is still very much a thing. And look at this, Tesoro right on the bumper of Gracias. I think a little bit faster through the corner that time. We'll see how he fares through 3 and 4. 37 just watching this all happen, trying to maybe put himself in the catbird seat to capitalize here. But these 3 trucks, they're definitely on a bit of a freight train here. They are flying, catching the cars ahead of them even. As out front, look at this actually real quick, Peter. I want to point out, Tesoro cut the gap from 1.6 seconds down to 0.6. So he's currently faster than Nate Mowrer. And Adam Newton as well, I think, lapping a little bit quicker. These guys are starting to come together.
Yeah, just starting to close in up at the front of the field. For people's awareness at home, Nate Mowrer and Dominic Tesoro both pitted on lap number 35. Adam Newton, Doug Neal both pitted on lap number 34. They run 3rd and 4th. Philip Scott, he waited until lap number 37 with Justin White. So they have slightly fresher tires on the 99 and the 2. Then you have Jason Gracias there in 7th. Jason was one of the early adopters. He came down pit road 30 on lap 34. Then Julian Tesoro on 35. Zach Howell lap number 34. And then it's a little bit of a gap back to David Buell behind them. So some slightly different tire strategies amongst our leaders right now. However, Andre, only about 3 laps of difference between some of the drivers who pitted first and some of the drivers who waited to stay out just a little bit more. So I don't know how much those 3 laps will come into play as the run goes on, but we'll find out here as we look to complete lap number 43 this time.
Well, you know, if it was real life, I'd say those 3 laps probably wouldn't come into play a whole lot. But here on iRacing, it seems like the tire wear is just more drastic than it used to be on these oval cars. And even something as minuscule as 1 lap can make a big difference, kind of compounds throughout the run, let alone something like 3 laps as this gap continues to close up here up front. Adam Newton right on the bumper of the 69. Both these drivers slowly reeling in Nate Mowrer. It's 0.3 seconds between 1st and 2nd. Doug Neal's kind of followed in tow as well. Look at that. Philip Scott, he was way back there, Peter. I mean, we saw him still on the apron when the leader went by pretty much at full speed, and now Philip Scott is less than a second back. And this gaggle of cars we were watching earlier, Jason Gracias, 1.7 seconds back from the leader. Still got the number 30 of Tesoro right behind him, as well as Buell in that 52. Look at this. Buell's going to dive down low, try to maybe make something happen with Tesoro here. See if you can't get this position. And you got to think sometimes when you get that one truck in front of you that seems to be holding you up a little bit, you got that one guy who's just like, all right, I'm done riding around. I want to get this position. See if I can't reel in the leader. Patience only lasts so long. And I don't think the number 1's really holding these guys up. But when you're following a guy lap after lap, it starts to feel that way.
Yeah, you can start to get a little bit frustrated from behind the wheel if you feel kind of cooped up and boxed out for, you know, especially early on in the race. You feel like, you know, and I'm a little bit faster. Let's see if we can catch this group in front of us. Let's see if we can draft up to them. And that's what Jason Gracias is trying to do. He's saying, okay, guys, let's just stay together. Let's work together because we are gaining ground. I mean, extremely impressive. We were talking about Jason Gracias being 7, 8, I think 9 seconds behind the race lead, and now he's back to just a single second. He's about to crack under a second here as they draft down the backstretch. There you see it, 0.97 seconds behind. So he's picked up 8 whole seconds on the race leader. Mighty, mighty impressive out of the number 1 machine. But for right now, Nate Mowrer continuing to lead. And Andre, you have to start thinking about Nate Mowrer. I mean, probably about 30 or so laps led away from clinching the most laps led, and that will mean that he can finish probably as far back as 13th or 14th in this field. And with Tellier already dropping out, Jimbo Casterline also back on pit road in the number 18 machine, we could be looking at just 17 trucks left tonight. If Jimbo doesn't return, things looking very, very good right now for that 971 Chevy Silverado.
Yeah, we're looking at a possible clinch scenario if we have just a handful more trucks that have issues that do not include Nate Mowrer, but we'll have to wait and see. Uh, I just want to point out, too, with Jason Gracias, this is some Bill Elliott type stuff. You know, I don't think I've seen somebody make up 9 seconds on a mile and a half under green in quite some time. That is quite a feat that he's pulled off. I even said when it happened, when he was spinning through the infield, I'm like, well, you know, he can catch up to the pack, but he's probably still going to need a caution or maybe just some good strategy. Nope, he just came out here, raw pace, just flat out fast, and he's all the way up to 8th, just 0.9 seconds back from the leader. Crazy run. And what that tells me, Peter, is if he gets around these guys, let's say he's able to carve his way through this top 9, and he does get out front, does anybody even have anything for him? I mean, this is a guy who's made up 9 seconds under green. If he gets clean air, which is going to make the truck even better than it already is, that's a scary thought for the rest of this competition.
Yeah, it is a scary thought, but he has dropped a spot down to 8th. But look who our new race leader is. That is the driver battling that 971 for the points title here tonight. Philip in that number 99 just got his nose out front. Andre, remember, slightly fresher tires on the number 99 as well. That might be what's given him the advantage here. This is one of those racetracks where the draft can be important, especially with these big boxy trucks. You know, you think of seeing a truck down the highway and you go, wow, that thing's probably, you know, not aerodynamic, it's big, it's boxy. Well, these NASCAR trucks are also big and boxy. They're less aerodynamic than their cup cars, and as such, they punch a big hole in the air and lead to a lot of drafting. So here at this track in particular, with a lot of banking and a lot of time in the throttle, draft does play a factor, and you have to think maybe that Philip Scott was able to use that draft, save tires a little bit by sucking up to the back of this train. Now he's able to use those 3-lap fresher tires. But let's start thinking about the next round of pit stops. We're still about 20 or so laps away from the next round of pit stops. But it definitely is one thing that you always have to keep in mind here when you're racing. You know, can't lose track of when you're next going to be on pit road. So, and I expect to see drivers on pit road in the next 14 to 20 laps, something like that from now. So that's when the pit window will open. But for right now, Philip Scott is your race leader. Nate Mowrer, Dominic Tesoro there in 3rd, and Justin White, and the number 29 machine of Adam Newton. Our top 5 as things starting to get a little bit spread out a little bit. Jason Gracias in that number 1 has just lost a little bit here. Andre, maybe those tires starting to fade on his MaxGrafix.co Toyota Tundra, but as long as he kind of stays with these trucks in front of him and can utilize that draft, I don't think he's going to drop a whole lot of time. So I think he continues to have a little bit of an advantage here.
Well, and this is to be expected. It's just like the first stint before the green flag stops. He's having to push that truck harder than anybody else. I mean, he's posting lap times that nobody else is, driving a lot harder for a lot longer than anybody else is. So he's gaining time and he's gaining positions, but he's wearing those tires down. So his long run speed is going to suffer, just like it did in the first stint. But when he pits, like you said, as long as he stays with these guys, when he pits and he gets those fresh tires, well, last time he pit, he went from, I believe, 14th all the way up to 7th. So if he can do something like that again, if it all continues to go through in the cycle that we've seen, he's going to be somewhere up in 4th, 3rd, maybe even 2nd. And then he doesn't have to push the car so hard. He doesn't have to worry about working his way through the field and racing people and you know, trying to cut the corners down and pinch the car and, you know, wear those tires out. And once he gets there, he can just drive it easy and worry about conservation like everybody else. So he's still fighting an uphill battle, but I think as long as this thing stays green and he keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to get to the top of that hill, and then he's not going to have to push. So we'll wait and see exactly what he's doing, but you got to think these guys are planning for more green flag stops. We've said it all season long. This has got to be one of the cleanest truck leagues I think I've ever seen. Personally, very few cautions. I genuinely think the amount of cautions I've seen while commentating this year, I could probably count on both hands. So whenever you're racing in this league, you kind of plan for a long green flag run. We've got one already, and we're inching closer to the pit window that Peter mentioned. So we'll see exactly how everything cycles out. I also want to shine a light on the fact that Nate Mowrer is not letting Philip Scott get away. Philip really closed the gap really quickly, and he made pretty short work of Nate in the 971. But once he got around him, that's kind of, I guess it lit a fire under Nate Mowrer, because he is still 3 2/10 behind pretty consistently. There's Adam Dama on your screen. He's in a bit of a battle with the 23, right down on that painted white line, and you got to be careful with that. You don't want to get too close, Peter, because if you clip that apron, your car is going to shoot up the track, and that is not what you want here at Vegas.
No, definitely not what you want, as we've seen a couple times here tonight. A couple drivers getting into the wall. John Fleming caught the wall. Mike Kloppy-Tellier did as well. Jimbo Casterlang remains on pit road here in the number 18 Stay Tuned Sports podcast Toyota Tundra, so we might be very much down to, as I say that, Jimbo's returning back to the fray. So he probably heard me and said, Peter, I'm going to prove you wrong, but it's good battle back here. Meanwhile, battle right back behind your second-placed machine. It's the battle for third. Justin White trying to get that from the number 69 of Dominic Tesoro. Looks like he'll complete that pass. So move the 2 back to third. As Justin's had a pretty good season here this year in the National Sim Racing Association. Comes into tonight third place in points, 95 markers behind Nate Mowrer. I do believe that with our field size and the fact that Nate Mowrer has led a lap here tonight, that Justin White is unable to win the championship. So we're down to the top 2 of Philip Scott and Nate Mowrer kind of duking it out. But it has been a good year for Justin White. No wins to his credit in 2022. However, he's got a couple of runner-up finishes. Got the second at Chicagoland a few weeks back, second at Pocono in what was a wild and chaotic night. But other than that, just been pretty consistent. And sometimes consistency is key, especially when you have 25 races, Andre. I mean, 25 races is a good number of races across a season, and I'm sure Justin will be happy to finish in the top 5 in points.
Oh yeah, anytime you can finish top 5 in points in a league this competitive, you know you're doing something right, and you're building momentum into the next season for sure, and confidence is a huge factor in the driver's performance. So not a bad year for that number 2 at all. And again, we talk about kind of carrying momentum into next year. Well, he's been building momentum all year long. Started out, I don't want to say he started out slow, but definitely improved throughout the entire year. Better and better and better, to the point where I believe he got a podium just a couple weeks ago. So anytime you can see that improvement progress at a steady rate and never really drop off, you're going to look at the next season with a lot of optimism. You're going to say, okay, you know what, that's going to be my year. I finished off last season strong. We're going to carry that straight through. And I think that's what Justin's going to try to do. He's really figured these trucks out over the last couple months, and you can see it in the way that he drives, the way that he tackles these tracks, the lines that he takes. So pretty solid season there. And again, there's a lot of drivers in this league that have had good seasons. I mean, it's been such a clean and competitive league that I don't think there's too many drivers out here that you can say, oh yeah, you know, it just wasn't their year. No, it's been fun all across the board. Here's another battle. Looks like the number 77 is trying to fend off the number 30, Julian Tesoro. He's going to dive it down low, maybe try to make something happen there, but looks like the 77 is going to get a little bit of a run out of the corner, trying to run a little bit lower down the straightaway, and then going into the corner, they're going to cross over the 30 down low, the 77 in that mid groove, and I think that's what's giving him that little bit of an edge on corner exit. Just running half a lane up throughout the corner is going to give you a little bit more speed through the tribal, through the back straightaway. But at the same time, you got to be careful how much and how often you do that, because it will eat away at tires. I do want to reiterate for the viewers at home, the way that the iRacing service kind of calculates the tire wear is maybe not necessarily 100% realistic, and it tends to prioritize distance driven over anything else, more than the stress or the heat or the temperatures or anything like that. So if you take the bottom around the track, it's going to naturally be the shorter way around the track, and you will save your tire wear massively. That is why running the high line with this current tire model is kind of a death sentence if you abuse it. You got to pick and choose when you use it to make your passes. And the 77's using it to good effect right now, holding off Julian Tesoro. as are these guys. Look at this, Justin White, Nate Mowrer, both these guys running a bit of a middle groove here. And I think what Nate's trying to do is he's just trying to take away whatever line the 2 is taking. I think you noticed last corner there, Peter, they were both running up high. That corner, they both went down low. That's because Nate Mowrer is throwing some blocks. He's trying to put that 2 in dirty air. Doesn't really have a dedicated line, just going where that 2 goes.
Yeah, really good battle here right up towards the front of the field as we have now eclipsed the halfway mark. Philip Scott, our leader at the halfway distance, which means our pit road is open for our second round of pit stops. In fact, I think we did have Patrick Morrison come down pit road, same with John Flamian, so they have both made their second pit stops of the night, but yet to see any of our key contenders make their way down onto pit road. But yeah, good battle up here. Starting to see another battle form a little bit back behind them as Dominic Tesoro and Adam Dama, not Adam Dama, that's the number 29 of Adam Newton. Man, I got Adams on the brain. A couple of Adams in the field here tonight. Adam Newton, though, in that number 29, tracking down Dominic. Back behind them, there's a couple of good battles. In fact, speaking of Adam Dama, there is Dama side by side with Travis White. These two have been glued together. Great to see Adam back in the field here tonight. If you followed us all season long, you would know that he's been stationed in Korea. And I think luckily for Adam, that is now was Korea, back stateside. And hopefully we'll see him feature next season for the entire year in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series, because I know Adam has been itching to get back behind the steering wheel. He posted pictures last night, or a couple of nights ago, I think, that he got his sim racing rig all back together. Well, we got drivers coming down pit road. There's the number 77 of Jug Neal leading this group down. Dominic Tesoro in the number 69, also on pit road. Travis White, Adam Dama. Oh, that's one car going around. Who was that?
Ooh.
Going around? I think that was the number 23. Something happened here to Travis White.
Let's try and take a look at the 3-wide TV replay. We saw the cone go flying, so we know that something happened. Following along with the 23, Adam Dama right behind him. They're coming down pit road now. He's coming in pretty hot here. He is a lot of speed and just locks up the brakes a little bit too hard and gets stuck on that inside wall and has to take a tow. I know some of the viewers at home may wonder, why did he take a tow? Why didn't he keep going? Well, sometimes the pit road walls, especially in iRacing, kind of grab your car and they don't want to let go. And I don't think he would have been able to drive away from that. You're going to see, again, just a little bit late to commit to pit road. And before he even really got on the brakes, he was already a little bit sideways. So it was kind of a disaster from the start. And that's going to be a solid minute and a half tow and some damage to repair. Unfortunate for the 23, but you'll have that sometimes here at these mile and a halves. That the pit road can seem so inviting when you've got all that pavement and all that wide open space leading up to it. They just invite you to go in as quick as possible, but you got to rein that in. You got to fight that urge to just sail it down pit road, and you got to make sure you get it loaded up in time. We got the 971 coming out of pit road. He's working his way through 3 and 4. And here comes Philip Scott. So Philip Scott, I like this. He's just kind of replicating the exact same thing he did last time, Peter. Just staying out a little bit longer than the 971. It worked out the first time. I see no reason it shouldn't work out this time. Things playing out pretty similar, I'd say, to the first stint.
Yeah, that 971, Nate Mowrer in and out of his pit box nice and quickly. Philip Scott also hitting his marks in the Roll Ninja League F-150. See, right side's going on that truck. They'll drop the jack, and left side's now going on. So Philip here, wow, down and away nice and quickly. So we'll see where Philip Scott shuffles out to. The number 2 of Justin White just now coming on to pit road. David Buell in the number 52 as well back behind him. That was a lightning stop out of the number 99, not able to hold on to the top spot, however, is Dominic Tesoro, who pitted on lap number 70, goes to, well, what we believe will be the race lead with that little bit of an undercut. Getting around the number 94 there, who has gone one lap down. That is Patrick Morrison, currently in the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog position. But you see there, left side of your screen, Dominic Tesoro cycles through to your race lead. Nate Mowrer into second. Then you have Justin White, who's just hustling to get off of pit lane up onto the racing surface. Good job there by the two machine of Justin White to really close in. I thought maybe he would be able to stick with Philip Scott a little bit more there. Not quite able to do so, but he will slot in behind Jason Gracias, who's up to fourth. His night was turned on its head very early. He's still trying to recover from that early race incident. But there's your race leader right now, Dominic Tesoro, as we work through lap number 76. And we were mentioning earlier that we've been impressed with the way the Tesoros have been racing. And we've just kind of been, thinking about this over, probably the last, few months, Andre. Dominic's yet to get to victory lane. We've seen Dominic very, very fast. We saw him start on the pole at Watkins Glen. We saw him start on the pole at Martinsville. We saw him have a good race to begin his NSRA career at Gateway. Got a third at Texas. Got another podium, of course, at Watkins Glen. And got that podium last week at Phoenix. Could this be the week that Dominic Tesoro goes to victory lane?
Well, it's definitely looking good for him out here leading the race right now. And you're exactly right. He's come so close to podium after podium, talking about him week in and week out, getting a ton of camera time for running where he runs, and just continually coming up a little bit short. Last race of the season, no better time to get it done. We'll have to wait and see. I think the cars behind him that waited a little bit longer to pit are going to have an advantage here as this run goes on. We saw the 99 kind of pull off that same strategy earlier, but now we've got cars that waited even longer. The number 2, Justin White, he was one of the last cars out of pit road, only got a 3-second gap to overcome, and he's got fresher tires than anybody. So we'll see how it plays out. But we've talked about how important the tire wear is all night long. Let's put some numbers to it. So the 99, his fast lap for the night is 31.1. That was towards the beginning of the race. His lap before he pitted was a 32.6. So we're looking at about a 1.5-second fall off between fresh tires and old tires, just for context there. But look at this. Peter, I told you, after this sequence, if it keeps playing out the way that it had, Gracias is going to get himself up into third, fourth, and, well, he has. He's working his way, chipping away at it, closer to the front than he's been since the incident earlier on, but not without challenge. Look at this, Justin White, fresher tires by a decent margin. He's going to try to dive it down low. Doesn't make the overtake there, not quite successful. The one is doing a great job playing some defense here. Got a lapped car up front, and I've noticed that a lot of these cars, a lot of these drivers are able to throw some pretty good blocks, and they're not like crazy unsafe blocks. All they're doing is they're just putting the car behind them in dirty air, and that is able to keep them from making the overtake. But sooner or later, the truck with the better tires almost always makes the pass, so I think it's a matter of when, not if, for this number 2 to make the move, because he's got so much fresher tires. He's going to make a move at it again. Now he's going to be door to door. The one's going to get a good run out of the corner by virtue of running the higher lane, but is it going to be a good enough run to get clear? He's got the 99 pushing him. That should be a big help, but not quite enough to get clear. Through the trial, the 2 is going to take the shorter way, cut it a little bit through the infield, and now the advantage goes to Justin White. Again, he's going to have to lift a little bit. You see that front end wash out a little bit, had to let off the throttle. Not going to get clear quite yet, but what's amazing me here, Peter, is that even though these guys are battling, they're still closing in on Nate Mowrer. You see him getting a little bit more and more in frame in front of these guys. So even though they're slowing each other down and kind of kicking and dragging each other back, they're still gaining on these guys.
Yeah, they are closing in on them just a little bit. Dominic Tesoro, though, enjoying the clean air on the nose of his Toyota Tundra. He's pulled out to about a 1.7-second lead, but you can see this group continuing to close in. My big question, Andre, is currently the number 69 of Dominic Tesoro. I think he's far enough out front that he's actually broken the draft on the number 971 of Nate Mowrer. That could be pretty beneficial to Dominic Tesoro as this race goes on, because we've seen how powerful that draft can be, and if you can kind of get out in front of it, well, that can really pay dividends. Although Justin White, with his fresher tires, he's trying to make that move now for second, diving down to the inside of the other Chevy Silverado right there as the Toyota Tundra of Gracias there looms in the background. Some good action here as we close in on 50 laps left in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series season.
Tell you what, we might be looking at some 3 wide pretty soon if this number 1 makes another run at it like he did. But, we pointed out Justin White was one of the last trucks to pit, so he only came out about 3 seconds behind our leader, which really seemed pretty doable in terms of making up that gap. And he's obviously been held up quite a bit. He's had to battle with Philip Scott, Jason Gracias, and now Nate Mowrer. But even so, getting up into second place here, if he can complete this maneuver, is not bad at all. And I think both these drivers, Philip Scott, Justin White, they've proven that if the race stays green, I think the optimal strategy is to take it a little bit further. If you short pit, if you come in just a little bit sooner, sure, you're going to gain something in the short run, but you're going to give it up later on. And so if I'm one of these drivers, I'm keeping that in mind. Tesoro now 1.2 seconds back from Justin White, 1.1 actually through that corner as the number 2 gains quite a bit after getting clear. You mentioned he may have broken the draft. I believe he did at one point. When he was 1.6 seconds ahead, he may have broken it, because my general rule of thumb is about 1.5 seconds in these trucks is what you need to catch a whiff of that draft to really feel its effects. And he was just outside of that, unfortunately for him. Those tires are probably screaming at him. I mean, look at this, 0.8 seconds now to Justin White. He's gaining tenths of a second per lap, and he may be out here to lead some laps.
Yeah, Dominic Tesoro right now just 50 laps from home. We know that there will be at least one more green flag pit stop if we do remain caution-free to the end. If you're just now joining us here on 3 Wide TV, there has been no caution flags so far. There's been a few drivers maybe not seeing eye to eye. A couple of Jason Gracias there sitting in 5th. He was spun into the infield grass and was about 9 seconds behind a race lead for a little bit. He's clawed his way all the way back to being in this 5-truck battle, but so far green flags. We're left with just 11 trucks on the lead lap, Vincent Valvano being the last of those. Currently the 94 Patrick Morrison, the first driver 1 lap down and needing a caution flag to get that Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award. One thing I'm seeing, though, in the live timing and scoring is something has happened to the number 30 of Julian Tesoro here, Andre. Let's see if we can see what happened. Coming down onto pit road, this is an unscheduled stop, and just kind of pulled it to a halt. So something must have happened there to the number 30 of Julian Tesoro. Hopefully all is A-okay. Wasn't sure what was going on. Meanwhile, his brother Dominic Tesoro side by side for the race lead, with Justin White looking to get that lead. I think the number 2 is going to clear him up off the corner, so move Justin White to the race lead. Not exactly for the first time here tonight, but I think the first time that he has led not during a pit cycle. So good job there, Justin. We also have the number 77 of Doug Neal. He's showing currently out of the race, but Andre, I believe that may have been some type of technical gremlin, or maybe his internet connection fell out. We'll see whether or not Doug can work his way back on the racetrack, but that's a tough break for the Simbox machine. Of course, Doug Neal, one of our series sponsors with his Simbox button boxes that you can pick up on facebook.com/SimboxPC. But I believe that was a connection issue. Andre, not sure if you can follow up on that one, but going to be not the night he was looking for.
Yeah, I do believe that was a connection issue. The in-race chat is showing Doug Neal dropped to packet loss, so generally that means internet issues. Unfortunate for that 77, because he was actually having a pretty good night. I mean, we saw him running up front, dicing it up with the leaders for quite some time. Not the way you want to end your season, but if anything, he can kind of take solace in the fact that what took him out was nothing of his own doing, and when he was in the race, he was running pretty solid. But one thing I'm thinking about here, Peter, is are we going to see anybody at this point take a bit of a short stop strategy? Because it's clearly not the move. You know, the number 2, the 99, these guys tend to stay out a little bit longer than everybody else, and it's working, especially for Justin White. Not only did he overcome 3 seconds back to the leader, But he's also now stretched his own lead out to 0.4 of a second and growing. And if Nate Mowrer gets up next to Tesoro and starts battling, he's going to pull away even more. So if I'm a driver, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm stretching this thing out as far as I can go. But I don't know. We're closing in on our final set of stops, probably within the next 15-ish laps, 20 laps. If I'm a driver, I'm not taking that short stop. But you never know. Sometimes a driver might think, well, I ain't got him on speed, and I just got to do whatever they're not doing. That's kind of the mindset is, whatever the other guy's doing, I'm going to do the opposite, and hopefully it works out. As they're going to go side by side. The 99 trying to get around our current points leader down low. He's got help with Jason Gracias, who seems to have kind of evened out his tire wear. He was kind of falling back a little ways earlier, and I thought maybe he killed his tires in this run. But no, he's right there with Philip Scott, Nate Mowrer, Dominic Tesoro. This group of cars from second on back to fifth, while the leader continues to pull away just a little bit, 0.6 that time at the line. Yeah, Jason Grossi is just kind of watching these guys, maybe trying to pick his lane and make some ground up here. But this is where it gets difficult for Jason Gracias, Peter, because now you got all three of these cars in a line, which means you don't just have to pass Philip Scott. You're not just passing one truck. No, if you're going to make a move, you're going to have to pick up a 2 or maybe even a 3 for 1. Otherwise, you're going to be hung out to dry all on your own in your own lane, no draft, and it's not going to go anywhere. So you either have to hope that these guys start battling side by side, or you got to make one whale of a move.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that these drivers are racing so hard. I kind of would have expected them to maybe try and stay in line and work together, so Justin White can't get away because he's continuing to just put just a little bit of a gap lap after lap on this second pack here. Been really impressed with Justin White on this particular run. So Dominic Tesoro, Nate Mowrer, Philip Scott, Jason Gracias, they're all locked in that battle for second. Then it's about 2 seconds back to a driver who's also having a really good night. Haven't really mentioned him a whole lot, haven't mentioned him a whole lot this season, but that's David Buell in the Simbox number 52, doing a great job there in the 6th position.
Yeah, David Buell, kind of a quiet driver, I would say. Like you said, we haven't really talked about him a whole lot this year, but he's had some highlights. He's made some pretty good overtakes. I remember talking about him a little bit, making some moves, even, I believe, leading some laps at one point earlier in the season, and now trying to cap off his season with a solid top 10 finish, running in 6th place. Comfortable gap back to Adam Newton in 7th, and a ways up the road to Jason Gracias, so he's just kind of on his own. Kind of clicking off laps, as comfortable as could be. So hopefully we can continue this momentum as we approach lap 100. This gaggle of cars, unchanging. We've been following along with this battle on screen, but now they're going to go side by side. They were single file for quite some time, and now, well, they're done with that. It's time to go. They see that number 2 just driving off into the sunset. He's a second up the road now, and so whoever thinks they're fastest, they got to get out front. They got to make their move so that they can try to run them down. Nate Mowrer trying to get around Dominic Tesoro in the 69. But look at that outside line, not only carrying more momentum from that longer way around the track, but also just using that draft from the 99 and the 1. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. If you're going to make a move and you're not able to get clear, you kind of get stuck in your own little lane with no draft help. Luckily for Nate Mowrer, the number 1 of Jason Gracias is going to swap lanes. He's going to come down low. He's going to lend him a little bit of a hand. And now it's Philip Scott through the tri-oval, hung out to dry. He's got no draft help as they go 2 wide in front of him, nearly 3 wide for a minute, but they were able to avoid that. But Dominic doing a heck of a job keeping these guys at bay. I mean, I can't tell you how many swings Nate has taken at this guy, and he's still keeping him in the rear view.
Yeah, great battle for position. Just 50 miles left here this season in.
Whoa! Philip Scott down pit road. I'm assuming that was scheduled, but he came in hot.
Yeah, there he is. He wanted to do a little bit of an undercut. Let's go back and get that. I saw that at the same time you did. I just couldn't tell what truck it was. Let's see Philip Scott bleeding off here. We're inside 50 laps to go. We're past the 3/4 race distance, and yeah, Philip Scott there coming in really late, trying to get every little bit that he could get. Good pit lane entry, and that might all of a sudden open things up as the number 69, Dominic Tesoro, on pit road now. So a couple of top 5 contenders starting to work their way onto pit road here tonight. as he goes to his pit box. Now, when will Justin White work his way on to pit lane, as he has extended his lead here, Andre, to 1.7 seconds. Justin White has been looking so strong. We mentioned he's still looking for win number 1 on the season. Maybe he could punch a win here at the end of the year. It would be definitely seen as a favorable win amongst the National Sim Racing Association crowd. The league administrator, Justin White, out there runs in these races. He doesn't have to worry about the in-race officiating because they got the outer race official. Big shout out to Scott Tompkins, the 888 machine, who is here every week doing the outer race officiating. But there's a lot that goes on during the week that the number 2 has to put up with as a league administrator, and he does a good job of it, and definitely would be seen as a favorable win. But right now, look at this. Jason Grassi is trying to pick up a spot from Nate Mowrer here late in the run. Mowrer doing a little bit of an over-under move, looking back underneath the MaxGrafix.co Tundra. But nothing that the 971 can do. You see him wash up the racetrack as he now bleeds off the racetrack to come down pit road. Oh, man. Flip sliding down pit lane. Let's see if he got down to that pit road speed limit. I think he was able to do so, but that was a little bit of a hairy moment for our points leader, the 971.
Yeah, that was definitely a close call. I think he got pit road speed. It didn't look like he exceeded it, but definitely flirting with disaster there, coming down pit road that fast as the points leader. And here comes Justin White, as Gracias is actually going to stay out a little bit longer than him. But I like this. Justin White is kind of repeating his strategy that he pulled that kind of got him the lead in this stint. And Jason Gracias, well, he's taking it one step further. He's going another lap. We'll see if he comes down pit road this time by, or if he tries to stretch it even more. Now, here's the difference between this stint and all of the stints prior, where the long-run strategy actually worked really well. In this stint, we're getting close to the end of the race. You're not going to have as much time to run the leaders down and make up the extra time that you spent, that you lost staying out on these old tires. So that may be one of the reasons that Philip Scott came down pit road so early. That may be one of the reasons that Gracias was really one of the last to come down pit road, because they know that, hey, we've really only got so many laps left. And whereas before we had a whole fuel run to try and make up any potential time we might have lost staying out, we don't have that luxury now. So you kind of have to consider that and maybe mix up your strategy just a little bit.
Now let's talk about those strategies just a little bit. Jason Gracias is on pit road right now as we talk, leaving David Buell, the only driver still out there on the racetrack. But for right now, Dominic Tesoro, who pitted on lap number 102, actually has a little bit of an advantage here over Philip Scott. Philip pitted on 101, so you would usually expect the driver with the oldest tires, at least at this point of the run, to be out front. But advantage number 69, fresher tires and the track position. But they are a couple of seconds up the road from this group right here. That is the 971 of Nate Mowrer with the number 2 of Justin White, just behind the number 64 of Vincent Valvano. Nate Mowrer pitted on lap 105, Justin one lap later in 106. So a little bit of an advantage here tire-wise to Justin White, but for right now, Mowrer has that track position. But as you can see there, left side of your screen, anywhere from about 5 to 6 seconds from the group that will now be your race leader back to this pack here. Make that 4 seconds, rather. So you have to do math on the fly sometimes. Jason Gracias, though, probably the big loser, although he has the freshest tires. He's now dropped to 7 seconds. But Andre, he doesn't have any drafting partners back there. He's kind of on his lonesome in 5th.
Yeah, definitely not an ideal situation. Again, I wondered about this last stint and how beneficial it would be to stay out that long. Because like I said, whenever you pull that strategy, you are relying on the fact that you can spend the entire next fuel run closing in on the leaders, that you have time on your side, that you're not in a hurry. You don't have that with this last stint. We've only got 24 laps to go, and a 7-second gap is, I mean, he could make it up. I don't know. He surprised me before, but it's definitely not a great situation for him to be in. I'm also really interested in this scenario up front. We got Tesoro and Philip Scott 0.3 of a second apart, and they are both about 3.7 seconds up the road from Justin White, who does have the freshest tires. I think Justin is going to be able to catch him. I think Nate Mowrer is going to be able to catch him. Question is, are they going to be able to make the pass in the time that they have? It's really coming down to the wire here. I think we're shaping up for a very interesting finish as Nate Mowrer is able to kind of keep pace with the number 2, which I wasn't really expecting. I thought the 2 was going to kind of start to pull away here, but no, Nate is sticking right to his bumper. Philip Scott still 0.3 seconds back from Tesoro. And you got a handful of trucks up here, Peter, that are looking for win number 1. You got Justin White, you got Dominic Tesoro, then you got the drivers who have won races. You got Philip Scott, Nate Mowrer, Jason Gracias, all pretty familiar faces to victory lane, and kind of an interesting dynamic there, because you know that these guys who haven't won, well, they're going to do what it takes.
Yeah, and I love the fact that we have some drivers up there up at the front of the field who have not won a race this season. And here we are at the season finale, and they're up there. They're contending for their first win of the season, and how cool would it be for one of those drivers to get the win here tonight, carry that momentum on into the 2023 Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. I mean, it'd be really, really great to see either Dominic Tesoro or Justin White get to victory lane. Of course, with Nate Mowrer with 5 wins to his name this year, Jason Gracias with 6, Philip Scott with 3. They have more than enough wins to go around, don't they, Andre? So I'm always a person who I like to root for the underdogs, and it's always good to see new faces up there at the front of the field. As you can see, our top 5 kind of at this moment in time separated by about 5.8 seconds. It's about 5.5 seconds back to Adam Newton from Jason Gracias, and about 3 seconds back to David Buell. Zach Howell there in 8th in the number 37. Good run for him. Tom Lester, Adam Dama, our last 2 trucks on the lead lap. Good to see Adam Dama getting the top 10 in his return to the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. And Andre, I'm just looking there left-hand side of the screen. John Flamion has taken his 22 to the garage as well. Doug Neal not able to come back out there onto the track. I believe, based on my math and based on the fact that I think the 971 of Nate Mowrer has led the most laps tonight, that the 971 of Nate Mowrer, unless someone like Philip Scott or Justin White can get back to the lead and in a hurry, I think we're looking at the 971 currently clinching the championship. I just don't think that the number 99 of Philip Scott can gain enough points now. I think it's over. I think the 971 is our champion. So if you're Nate Mowrer and you're watching this, buddy, I think the championship is yours. Go for broke. Try and get another win.
Yeah, I was going to point that out. I mean, that means he's got nothing to lose. The worst he can finish is 13th, which should give him enough points. And that means he can race about as hard as he wants to. He doesn't have to really worry about taking risks. Whereas, that's a completely different mindset than what he had coming in. He was pretty comfortable coming into this race, of course. But there was still that possibility. Maybe something crazy happens on lap 1. Maybe instead of Jason Gracias spinning through the infield, maybe it's him. And maybe he doesn't get out of it scot-free with no damage. And then suddenly the championship is up in the air. So you got to drive a little bit cautious. You got to approach that with a certain level of care. Now, that's pretty much in the bag. So go for broke, like you said. Do what you got to do. And these guys are reeling them in. Justin White, Nate Mowrer, they've gained about a second over the last 7 or 8 laps. So at this pace, they should catch these guys up front before these 16 laps are up. But they're not going to have a whole lot of time to make the pass. And one thing that we've seen time and time again at this track, Peter, is that it seems like the overtakes take time. It's not really a one and done, oh, well, I'm faster than you, I'm going to duck down low and get around. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it's been all night. It seems like every overtake we've seen up front has been a product of a lot of consideration, a lot of setup, and a lot of preparation. It takes 3, 4, sometimes even 5 laps to get clear of a guy. So when the clock is ticking, I don't know. It may come down to Tesoro and Philip Scott, but Philip has dropped about a tenth and a half, 2/10 almost now from Dominic Tesoro, who again is looking for win number 1. So if you're the driver of that 69, I mean, there's got to be a million things running through his mind. He's got to be considering, okay, I don't want to burn up my tires, don't want to push it too hard because I don't want these guys to get that advantage and catch up to me here. But at the same time, can't conserve too much, can't save too much, because if I do that, well, they're going to catch me anyways. They're going to make the move. So, man, a balancing act right now behind the wheel of that 69, and you got to think he's probably getting pretty nervous. 14 to go, or maybe he's cool as a cucumber. I don't know. Maybe he's one of those guys that just doesn't let the nerves get to him. But if I was in that seat, man, I'd be biting my fingernails.
Yeah, and that number 69 right now, half second. Then we're starting to see Justin White and Nate Mowrer start to make some inroads on Philip Scott. Let's see if we can bring up kind of that gap over the last couple of laps from Philip Scott to Justin White. It was 2.1 seconds 5 laps ago. It is now underneath a second. And then back behind Nate Mowrer, Jason Gracias is starting to make some inroads as well. 9/10 of a second over the last 5 laps. If you kind of do the math, that should get Nathan Mowrer and Jason Gracias kind of on each other's bumpers. And then, of course, you got your leaders starting to kind of all come together. Andre, I think we're going to have a 5-truck battle for the final win of the season here on the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. And I think that just kind of sums up pretty much every race we've had this season. I mean, we have not had a lot of runaways here this year. It's been really impressive to see how close the action has been, sometimes from the drop of the green flag all the way to the checkered flag. And you have to think, we've been green flag this entire race. It has just been so impressive that time and time again, these drivers put on a show for us here on 3 Wide TV. No other league has put on racing that is this close at the end of green flag races on this channel time and time again, that's for certain.
And you know, I might chalk that up to the fact that, you know, it's a fixed setup league. The trucks are all pretty similar in pace. But I'll tell you what, there's fixed races in the iRacing service that are public races. Go join those. Tell me if they wind up this close, because they won't. It really comes down to just how competitive and how good these guys are that it really winds up being this close week in, week out. Now, this is an interesting situation for the number 2 because he's got the second freshest tires. The guy with the freshest tires, you know, he's a couple cars behind him. That's the number 1, Jason Gracias. So Justin White is thinking, I got to get around these guys. I got to get around them now. Because if I don't, if they hold me up, Gracias is going to catch me. He's got fresher tires than all of us. And that could spell disaster for this whole pack. And you're absolutely right, Peter. These guys did kind of find each other. They've accordioned together. All of the tire wear has kind of evened out. And these guys have found each other on track. And it is a 5-truck battle for the lead. And Justin White cannot waste too much time here. Because I think if you give that one a chance, those slightly fresher tires, he's not going to hesitate to make the move. I mean, and what a recovery it's been for the number 1. Again, he was 9 seconds back. He was spinning through the infield all on his lonesome. No draft help, nothing. Makes up all this time under green and now puts himself in position to be a part of this battle for the win with only 8 laps to go. Philip Scott on the high line trying to hold off the number 2, and it's not quite going to be enough. They're going to be side by side, but I think once they get through the trial, well, that number 2 is going to be clear. If not the trial, then especially once they get through 1 and 2. He's got that preferred line down low, a little bit quicker through the center. And Justin White is going to get clear. Jason Gracias watching 2 trucks battle side by side in front of him. Dominic Tesoro watching all of this transpire in his mirror and just saying, yes, more of this. Keep battling. Keep dragging each other back. That's what I need. So remember, Dominic Tesoro is on some of the oldest tires in this pack, and it's not going to be easy for him to hold these guys up on his own. Kind of needs them to do that for him. Justin White is free of all of the chaos behind him. Look at this. Jason Gracias down low. He's going to think about making it 3 wide. Can't quite do it, but he does get underneath Philip Scott, and that's going to be 1 more position, at least momentarily, as he has the advantage over the 99 through 3 and 4. There's Adam Dama just ahead of our leaders. All of this going on. Man, oh man. Almost too much to even talk about here. Jason Gracias still down low. Philip Scott clinging to that position up high, but it's not going to be enough. finally gets clear into fourth, right behind the 971. And up front, surprisingly, the number 2, despite having fresher tires, Peter, he has not been able to make this overtake, and he's actually lost about a tenth that last lap.
Well, currently our top 2 drivers are the only 2 drivers yet to go to victory lane this season in the top 5. I mean, that is so cool to see that Dominic Tesoro and Justin White will be duking this out for their first win of the season. Each of them 4 laps to go, just 6 miles left in the 2022 Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series, but also in the BeerStreetJournal.com season finale 200 here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway here on 3 Wide TV. We want to thank all of you for being with us all season long. It has been quite the ride here. Of course, we got the All-Star race next week here on the channel. You don't want to miss that. And then we're also going to do a figure 8 race here on 3 Wide TV. Side by side for the race lead, side by side for third as well. Here comes Justin White looking to the inside. Remember, he was so good at the Chicagoland Motor Speedway a couple weeks ago and ended up losing the lead with a little bit of a pit cycle mishap. Stayed out late, got undercutted by the 971 and Nate Mowrer. Now he's going to try and do the overcut, try and take the race lead here late, but Dominic Tesoro is not going to back down as we're coming to 2 to go. Meanwhile, behind them, Jason Gracias, who has the freshest tires in the top 5, he's trying to make that move on Nate Mowrer. Andre, we could be looking at a side-by-side finish here in a lap or 2.
Yeah, we may be looking at that. I think Dominic's got to get really aggressive with his number 2. If he wants to hold him off, he's going to have to pinch him down in the corner, force him to that white line, but he's given him quite a bit of room. He's being very courteous, which I would not expect for somebody looking for their first win. I mean, I respect it. You got to respect somebody who races with this much respect and this much care to their competitors, but man, I would be pinching this guy down to the white line. What a battle as the white flag goes out in the air. We've got 2 cars that have not yet visited victory lane, and they are nose-to-nose through 1 and 2. Dominic Tesoro just getting the advantage out of the corner. Justin White trying to side draft him down the back straightaway. We got a lap car on the white line. He shouldn't be a factor through this corner. Justin White down low. He is going to try to get the advantage here. Will the lap car come into play? I'm not actually certain. All the way up the track, Justin White runs Dominic high. There's contact. They're spinning across the line. And it's going to be Nate Mowrer who takes the win. What on earth was that?
Can you believe that? I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. Little bit of contact there coming to the line, and Nate Mowrer ends up our series champion and race winner. Holy smokes, what on earth just happened? Let's go back and see that one.
I mean, you got to do everything you can. These guys are looking for their first win. There's going to be a certain level of aggression. I mean, nobody won. You know, I mean, in that situation with that contact, that was not good for either one of them. Just a bad situation. Again, coming down this back straightaway, the 69 did have the advantage, and the number 2 was able to get the run through the center right here. But even there, he wasn't able to really get clear. You got the number 30. That's Adam Dama. He's doing a good job. He's doing what he needs to do. He is beneath that bottom seam, giving these leaders the preferred line, doing exactly what he needs to do. And as they come out of the corner, it's nose to nose. It's neck and neck. They're not even remotely separated. And then you're going to see Dominic turn down drastically. And unfortunately, the way that contact affected the number 2, it kicked that right front up in the air, which then rotated the truck. And at the line, Nate just sneaks through, gets it by about 0.04 of a second over Jason Gracias, who again was charging from the clear back of the pack. What an eventful end to the race and the season.
Yeah, I can't say I have seen another race finish like that one. I mean, I've seen race finishes similar to that one, but I don't think I've seen the one where the 2 leaders kind of battling it out for their first win of the season end up wadded up in a heap with our series champion sneaking on through to get the checkered flag here, as the front stretch is a smoke fest for everyone in the virtual iRacing grandstands. As we'll get a quick word with some of our top finishers. We got Riderly Angle in the chat saying, well, that's a finish. Yeah, that definitely was a finish of the race and the championship. And of course, remember, next week we have our all-star race here coming up. So we'll get Dominic Tesoro, Jason Gracias here, and luckily, I say luckily. Usually we leave the series champion interview last. Well, we'll get our race winner and champion last here tonight. As Nate Mowrer, Andre, I think he is going to go until that engine is no longer.
Yeah, he's got a lot to celebrate about for sure. I mean, it's one thing to win the championship, but to win the race too, at that point, you're just showing off.
Yeah, burning it down here on the front stretch. Our Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series champion. Winner of 6 races this season. That engine finally smoking. It's still got some go-go juice in it. It's still got some, as I say that, it has given up the ghost. All right, let's see if we can get some post-race interviews here. Let's start with tonight's third-place finisher, Andre. Definitely going to be a fun one to hear from Jason Gracias. Jason Gracias, Peter Shore 3 Wide TV Boots. Got a copy?
Hello.
Well, your race. When did your race start? I mean, did it start on lap number 6 when you were 9 seconds behind the field, or do you think it started there late? I mean, I don't know. Your night was as topsy-turvy as it could be.
I don't know. My race started when everybody else's race started, so I was throwing the challenge of going coast to coast. I almost did it, so fun, I guess. Congrats to Nate on the championship.
It was a wild start for you going spinning through the grass. I made the comment that really, really good car control to keep that thing kind of pointed in the right direction from the lead all the way back to 19th and coming up third here. But 6 wins on the season. I know you're kind of just part-time, but looking back on the season, did any particular race stand out to you?
Anytime we go to Dover, it's always a blast, honestly. It's my favorite track, so if I had to pick, I would say Dover. But, this race was fun. Minus getting spun out early. I know what Mike was trying to do. He timed it wrong. I know it wasn't intentional. It just sucks. But I had a lot of pace. I guess everyone saw it coming from 16 seconds behind the pack to almost winning. So this race was fun, I guess. Mainly because there was a lot of strategy, a lot of give and take, and it was 2 by 2 for 2-3 laps there at the end to see who was going to win. So really real nail biter for the fans in the YouTube chat, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely one of the better finishes to wrap up this season here tonight. But next week, of course, we got the All-Star race. Might we see you in the All-Star race next week?
No, honestly, I think I'm going to take a long sabbatical from Thursday, Friday iRacing until maybe the new year. I need some mental clarity to get away from this and just, focus on things outside iRacing. So you won't see me. To be determined when I come back, but it's been a blast.
Well, go find yourself a virtual beach or something to relax on. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Long Beach. There you go. You can go to Long Beach, get some relaxation on the street course. But Jason, congratulations on finishing third. Really strong season from you, even though it was just a part-time effort. And I hope to see you again here soon in the National Sim Racing Association.
Yeah, I'll definitely come back. I'll probably do the same cadence I did this year, part-time. It's more fun this way. You don't have to worry about season luck points and everything that goes with it. But congrats to Nathan on the championship. Philip Scott gave it a hell of a battle there at the end. I know he was trying everything he could. It's a shame Thuggy didn't come out. I was hoping to race with Thuggy one last time over here in the trucks. But just thanks to MaxGrafix for always giving me some really good paint schemes. Thanks to the league admins, Jimbo, Stay Tuned Sports Podcast, 3YTV. Peter, Andre, thank you so much for the broadcast, and everyone at home, hope you have a happy holidays and Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Happy New Year. See you guys next year.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for Jason Gracias. We'll see you again soon, Jason.
Thank you.
All right. Now time to dial up tonight's runner-up. I believe that Andre Rambush has caught up with Dominic Tesoro.
Dominic Tesoro, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, Dominic, it was a strong season. I mean, all season long, you were running up with the leaders, getting podium after podium, looking for your first win tonight, just coming up a little bit short. Tell me about it.
Man, I really don't have much to say after that one. That was pretty tough. We had the strategy, I feel like. Towards the end, I was just kind of saving a bit, waiting for Justin and or Nate to catch up and just run the high line and prevent them from passing, which is exactly what I did. But I really screwed up, man, on that last lap. I feel like I 100% had it. Multiple people agree with me. I 100% had it, but I 100% came down, and we touched, and you know, iRacing kind of exaggerates a slight door ding, and you know, that's what happened. But yeah, 100% my fault. I apologize to Justin. I definitely feel like that would have, you know, an excellent race from start to end. And that last little battle, man, the last 4 laps or so was super fun. But yeah, it sucks the way it ended.
Yeah, you guys put on a great show, and I agree, it was a great race. Now, Dominic, we talked a little bit on the broadcast about how impressed Peter and I both really were with you and Julian, because every time we talk to you guys, you know, you're up here finishing in the top 3, running really well, and I'm like, oh yeah, how well do you know this track? And you always say, oh, well, I never turned a lap here. I bought the track 5 minutes before the race.
Yeah.
Well, you've been doing that good without the track knowledge. Now you've run a season. You know these tracks, and going into next year, does that give you a little bit more confidence that you're going to come back even stronger?
Yeah, for certain. Our biggest struggle, you know, all year long has not been, you know, race pace. It's been, you know, hey, jump in the session, get, you know, maybe 15, 45 minutes to practice, then jump into qualifying. That's been our biggest struggle, that and tire management. A lot of these guys in here, Jason, Nate, Adam, Justin, Philip especially, they kill it on tire strategy. And, you know, we've taken a bit to kind of learn that. But I want to say the last 2 to 3 races, we've got it down to a point where we feel super confident. So, you know, it's getting better and better. Of course, next year I'll be racing a full season. You know, so it should be better for us to have a, you know, points contention, but we'll see. It was super fun, the several races that we did do. Julian and I both love it here. Everybody races super clean. A lot of fast guys in the league, very competitive. So, yeah, looking forward to next year. If I don't get the boot for that last lap, though.
Well, we definitely look forward to you and Julian both returning and seeing what you can do.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of confidence in you guys. Like I said, we've both been really impressed, Peter and I both. And now that you got some track knowledge, it's going to be pretty fun to see. But before we let you go, Dominic, is there any shout-outs you'd like to make?
Justin White, NSRA, with them taking over and kind of perfecting an already built league, I see nothing but pros from here on out, with very minimal cons. The leagues ran really well. I'd say the schedule is pretty cool. Next year, I looked at the, you know, schedule ideas that a lot of them had, and it looks to be pretty fun. There's a few road courses and stuff, which is of course what we love. But yeah, man. So NSRA, Tesoro Motorsports, you guys, 3YTV, all the drivers. Hopefully, it's packed next season as well.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, Dominic. Congratulations on another podium, and here's to next season.
All right, man.
And that is going to do it for Dominic. And I respect that, Peter. You know, he owned up to what happened there. I mean, just full-fledged, hey, I made a mistake. And that's a rare thing, I think, with a lot of drivers these days. He had a great season, just came up a little bit short. But like we kind of talked about in the interview there, I think next season's going to be pretty great for them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the Tesoros can do in their second full year of oval racing here in the National Sim Racing Association. But let's go down to Victory Lane, where we have caught up with our 2022 Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series champion, Nate Mowrer. Here, Nate, congratulations on getting the win here at Las Vegas, but more importantly, the championship. 6 wins. You hit your stride late when it really mattered. What stands out to you most now that you are the champion here this year?
I honestly don't even know what stands out the most. Yeah, I never thought it would ever. Didn't think it was possible with all the good guys that we have in here. But I was kind of just, I don't even know what races I won in the regular season. I felt like I only maybe had 2 wins in the regular season or 1. And I was like, I have no chance. And then I got good there for a little while. I think the Milwaukee Mile might have been the playoffs. And I actually straight up, I think I was in the playoffs. I don't remember. But that felt like that was my turning point in the playoffs, or that part of the season when I won there. Jason Gracias was actually racing there, and I beat him. And that was just I think that race there where all the momentum came from.
Well, you look at the last 5 races. You went to Chicagoland, race number 23. You got the win. Then next week, we went to Charlotte. You got the win there. Then after that, we went to Kentucky. You got the win 3 in a row. And then you didn't win at Phoenix, but you did win here tonight. That's 4 wins in the final 5 races this year to clinch that title. I mean, what a way to finish out the season. I don't think anyone could have wanted to finish out the season any better than what you did. And of course, you had a good run in the Xfinity Series on Thursday nights. They're kind of mid-season, and ended up not winning that championship, but you picked up the Friday night championship in style with the win here tonight. How cool is that? Next week, of course, we got the All-Star race as well. That is penciled to be Charlotte, where we raced just a couple of weeks ago, and you got that win there. I mean, things are really looking up for Nate Mowrer right now.
I'm hoping to make it. My wife's starting to get a little aggravated that Friday nights I'm sitting up here and her and the whole family's currently sleeping. I'll try to make it next week, but see what happens. I mean, most likely I'll be here, and it'll be fun. It's supposed to I know it's advertised as a fun race, but everybody, how competitive everybody is in here, so it's going to be a very competitive race, I'm sure.
Yeah, no race goes uncompetitive here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series, but great win for you here tonight. Any race in particular really stand out to you? I mean, I know you kind of highlighted that you felt like the Milwaukee Mile was the turning point, but any kind of single race that you could point your finger at?
Well, this one tonight, I mean, I so badly wanted to get this one's got to be the one I got to point out, because I finally got a championship in NSRA, which was my first ever. I don't even know. I was new to iRace. I was on iRace for maybe 2 weeks, and I found a recruit. I don't know. I didn't even know what hosted races were on here, and I found this hosted race. I had no idea that there was leagues on. I knew nothing about iRacing, and Chris Darling was running this recruitment race, and I was in there, and here I am, 3 years later, and so this league means the most to me. This truck series means the most to me out of all the leagues I'm in, because it's been the longest one I'm in, and I have to say that this race here is the one that stands out the most to me out of the past 3 seasons.
Well, that is absolutely awesome to hear, Nate. Before we let you go, I know you probably have some shout-outs to give here on 3 Wide TV, so let's hear
them. First and foremost, shout-out to Justin White for taking this thing over a quarter of the way, midway through the season, and keeping 95% of the drivers here. Which is a good thing. I think we had a pretty good car count tonight too, even for the final race. Shout out to you, Peter, for coming here every Friday night in dirt both of you guys coming here and wasting your time broadcast. I know it's not really wasting your time. You're getting paid, but I'm sure there's a lot of other things you guys be doing on Friday night. But thanks for devoting your time Friday nights to NSRA Truck Series. Shout out to all my teammates, Justin, Adam, David, Tom, Doug. Doug lost internet. Yeah, this league's where I met Doug Neal, man, and now he flies me down every year to his place there, a couple miles outside of Atlanta racetrack. So I get to go down there every year. We meet the whole Simbox team meets every year down in Atlanta. So it's pretty cool that we all get to do that here at Simbox. So shout out to them. Shout out to the sponsors. Shout out to everybody that makes this thing happen.
Well, I know I'll now be hitting up Doug Neal. So Andre, you and I need to start hitting up Doug Neal for those tickets down there to Atlanta Motor Speedway. But
come on down. A lot of fun, man. A lot of fun.
Andre, do you have any final questions or thoughts for our series champion before we let him go?
No questions. Just a big congratulations, Nate. You came on strong at the end of the season, and that's exactly when it counts. And you earned, man. I don't think I've seen a championship that well earned in quite a while. So good job, bud.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I appreciate it, dude. I can't wait to go back and watch the broadcast and everything. So appreciate everything you two guys do every Friday night.
Well, we'll let you go celebrate, Nate, and hope to see you again here, not only next week, but next season here in the NSRA.
You'll be seeing me, boys. Have a good weekend, guys.
You too.
All right. Well, that is going to be a wrap with our series champion interview. Andre, let's see if we can bring up those final race results. And there we go. Take him away.
And it is going to be Nate Mowrer taking away not only the checkered flag, but the championship for the season in that 971 truck. Jason Gracias comes up just a hair short for this race, and he's going to bring it home P2 after a Herculean effort. I mean, again, coming back from as far back as he was all the way up to second and only losing by a couple hundredths of a second, that cannot be discounted. Definitely the hard charger of the race, in my opinion. Dominic Tesoro, P3. Another podium in a long line of podiums. Justin White in P4. Philip Scott brings it home 5th, second in points. He made a great effort at it. And just wasn't meant to be. David Buell, we talked about him a little bit, saw that he was running in 6th, and we were curious to see if he could keep up that momentum, and he did. A great night for David Buell. Brings him home inside the top 10. 7th place goes to Adam Newton. Zach Howell, P8. Tom Lester, 9th. Adam Dama with a top 10. I'm not sure if that's his first top 10 of the season. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it may be, so congratulations to Adam Dama. Vinny Valvano, P11. Patrick Morrison, 12th. Jason Shue, 13th. John Flamian, 14th. 15th goes to Julian Tesoro, followed by Doug Neal, Travis White, and Jim Casterline. Rounding out the final driver of the race. I believe there's one more. If we scroll, is there? No?
There you go.
Yes, there is. Mike Tallier, 97. The Canadian, unfortunately, out with damage early on, and he's going to round out our field in 19th. And, of course, shout out to Scott Tompkins doing race control. I think, the drivers make race control a bit of a difficult job, Peter, because he's probably fallen asleep out of boredom. He's got nothing to do. They're too clean.
Yeah, he had a little bit of work to do last week at Phoenix, but really over the last month and a half or so, yeah, Scott Tompkins is, besides Phoenix, just kind of not had a lot to do. I think we had probably a grand total of 7 cautions, and I think 6 of those all came at Phoenix over the past 4 races. So, yeah, Scott Tompkins, it's an easy job for him. But, some leagues don't have it that way. Some leagues, race control is extremely difficult, and they're busy. It's really speaking to the quality of the drivers that we have here in the NSRA that it makes Scott Tompkins' job easy, but a big shout out to him for sticking it out this season in the race control position. Hope to see him back again next year. But hey, let's talk about our series sponsors here. And let's kind of go down the list. JNR Craftworks, been with us all season long. It is holiday season, folks. If you want a good, cool custom gift, check out jnrcraftworks.com. We got Thanksgiving coming up. We got Christmas coming up. We got other holidays coming up. If you want to get one of your cool friends a gift, well, JNR Craftworks is really, really cool. So make sure you check them out. Simbox, of course, we got Simbox Motorsports winning the race and the championship here tonight. www.facebook.com/SimboxPC. Now, what is a Simbox? Well, it is a button box. It is a box that you can connect to your computer and have extra controls in iRacing and other simulation games. And good friend Doug Neal puts them all together, custom order, and gotta say, really, really cool place, and really thankful for them being a sponsor here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. Eclipse Photography for taking some cool photos all season long of these races. Beer Street Journal, beerstreetjournal.com. Big shout out to them also for sponsoring the race here tonight. A great place to check out craft beer news. You can also check out beerstreetjournal.com on Twitter and Facebook. Link them in and get all your craft beer news. Taz Racing Customs, if you want a custom die-cast. Maybe you're Nate Mowrer, maybe you're a friend of Nate Mowrer, and you want to get a custom die-cast of Nate Mowrer's championship winning car. Well, you can do that. Facebook.com/Taz Racing Customs is the place to go. Brookstone Animal Hospital. Well, usually we give out a Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award or two, but we haven't been able to do that a lot recently. But big shout out to that animal hospital in the greater Atlanta, Georgia area, www.brookstonevet.com. Big shout out to them. They've been sponsoring the NSRA since we started broadcasting the league here on 3 Wide TV. So great to have them back in 2022. Hope to see them again in 2023. MaxGrafix. MaxGrafix.co. You can go check them out, get a custom iRacing paint scheme, or, if you have a real-life racing car and you want to wrap, well, MaxGrafix might be able to hook you up with a design. So make sure you check out our good friends over at MaxGrafix.co. And, of course, we can't say enough about Stay Tuned Sports, their podcast. Every week, you get to listen to what Jimbo and his crowd have to say. There's a link in the description of the video to their Podbean. So you can just click that and you can listen to the most recent or podcast from this past week, I should say. And, just have a listen. It's sports season. You got football going on. You got hockey back. NBA is back. This is the time of the year where you got so much going on. Of course, the World Series, NASCAR is coming to a close. You got basically every single sport, and Stay Tuned Sports is on top of it all. So can't say enough about them and all that they've done here for the National Sim Racing Association. But Andre, the All-Star next week, so one more race kind of for bragging rights to round out our season. But I think we've said it multiple times here tonight. These drivers put on a show all the way from Daytona to here at Vegas tonight.
Yeah, it's been a phenomenal season. I think if you're a league owner, if you're a driver, if you're a spectator, you couldn't ask for much more than what these guys put on. It was a lot of fun to be up in the booth this year. Glad to have the opportunity, and looking forward to the future.
Yeah, definitely going to be fun, folks. Make sure you tune in at 9 o'clock Eastern Time next week for the All-Star Race right here on 3 Wide TV. And then we'll be talking about the Figure 8 race that will be coming up probably the week after. Hopefully we'll have some details about that to present next week. But until we meet again, stay safe and all that good stuff, and we shall see ya.